For the newcomers out there or anyone just watching, and I'm a newcomer too, I want to stay that way. I've got 2 years. That's still considered a baby in the program, but I want to stay that way. God willing, I have like 30 years. I still am. I mean, we are all one drink away from ruining everything. So we always have to be just ready and on our toes with our tools and everything that we need and just give ourselves grace. That's the most important thing. Steps 1 through 12. We have some time. So if you wouldn't mind just kind of expanding. So we'll say the steps sometime word for word, or just we don't have to say it word for word, but could you just kind of tell me how the steps worked for you? So step 1. What is step 1
So
for
I wasn't gonna admitting that I had a problem with alcohol and I was powerless. Meaning that and I couldn't have been powerless over anything at all. I mean, do you know who I am? I'm this guy right here. I got this, I got that. I'm good. I'm not gonna be that. I'm not what you say I am. I don't have a problem. You know, I mean, drink a lot, but I don't have a problem. I make this much money. I could do this. And it was just a bunch. It was full of nothing. It was nothingness. There was nothing, no substance to it. Because it wasn't pure, it wasn't real. Because in the shadows, I was always looking over my shoulder to find out who knew what was going on, who could figure me out. So, to admit that I was powerless over alcohol, was a big thing. And I did it the first time, but I didn't believe myself. And yeah, I thought I could do it. That's the thing. Real quick, I don't want to expand too far, but in the rooms, there's people who have 10, 15, 20 years who go back out because it's usually the same story. They get coast, they get on cruise control, they quit going to meetings, they become kind of what they call a dry drunk. They don't do any work on themselves or their program, and that's one thing I don't want to feel myself doing, and I have felt it. And those are some of the reasons I went back out with very little time. But you know, this is a lifelong process that we get to do, and try to stay sober and get to be better every day.
Awesome. And I agree. It's funny because one of our friends that we went to college with, she always says the hardest step for her was step 1. And everyone's different. Um, maybe it was for me to admit to myself. It wasn't hard for me to say it to people, and I know that's crazy. Um, but step 1 to say, I have a drinking problem. Yes, all of the steps are hard, but some are harder than others. So,
Absolutely.
yeah, for me, when I admitted that I was powerless, I needed to say it, to tell people. So it was almost like I needed their perspective to say, well, you're doing this, and this. It's not hard for me to be vulnerable and to be humble. It's always been a trait of mine, but with this sensitive topic of being an alcoholic, by me admitting it is the first step to saying, well, I can't have it anymore. That was what was so scary. By announcing it, it's like everyone's watching me now. So it's harder to be drinking. So that's for me. All right, step 2.
So that's we came to believe a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. And well, you got to be in the same person. I didn't think that, and you know, God wasn't. My growing up in my house, my mom was religious, my dad was not. My dad used to make fun of people that went to church and these fairy tales and things like that. He would call them. So I was kind of fearful. I believed in something. I didn't know what. But what's wonderful about that is when I was ready, I developed a relationship with God. Not just I let go of my fears of wondering what other people would think if I say I believe in God. But it works for me, and this program is different for other people, like you said. But for me, I had to do that, and my higher power is God, and it took a lot for me to let go of my fear of what other people would think to believe that myself.
I love that. I love that. And it's funny that you mentioned that because I realized I grew up Catholic. My parents weren't like really strong Catholics, but we were. We had a label. I've been baptized. I had my first communion. I've been confirmed, done all the things, married into a very Catholic family. And I loved their faith, and it actually pushed me more towards it. But I realized that yes, the same God, and mine is the man upstairs, was on my terms. And I believe that that's what he wants. He doesn't want other people to push it on us. And it's like a fake belief system.
Yeah.
And so that's why you'll hear a lot of people saying my church is AA, because for me, AA opened me up to really giving that up to my higher power, and that is God, because that's when I saw that once I recognized that there is a higher power, really recognized it, not just said it, but I felt it. When I feel it, that's when my life started to change for the better. Okay,
Absolutely.
my personal favorite is step 3. All right, you're up.
Make a decision to turn your will over to the care of God. Um, you know, that's huge because um, it's one of those things where, like I said, I could never have done this by myself. Meaning that if I'm in control and I got my hands on the wheel and it's my will, we're going to crash and burn in a major way. And you know, it's not, it's never a good thing. And for me to let go of control, I didn't want to admit like I acted like an only child. They said, "You're an only child. You act like one." I never wanted to admit that. That was really, really tough. My ex-wife said I had some narcissistic behaviors. Not me. Nah, So to admit and turn all that stuff over, and that's almost a daily thing because I worry about things I don't need to worry about. These things still creep in all the time, and um, turning all that stuff over, it's great. I feel myself do that at times, but then I feel myself reaching for the wheel again. I want to do it this way. I want this now. Why can't I understand this now? And I'm still fearful of things that I might not get. I catch myself. It's crazy. It's just I can't. But at least I get to catch myself because I have the tools to realize it today. But fear of not getting what I want or the outcome I want, or um, and it's not this big thing where I walk around scared. It's just like I catch myself and mildly being my behavior is based around X, Y, and Z. It's because I'm scared of this not going my way. So yeah. Why is it your favorite? I want to know.
Okay, so the third step for me, and thank you for that. The third step for me is just a little background on my story is that, we were both athletes. We both played our respectable sports in college at the same college. I always thought my life, and I'm sure you did too, was going to be this way. It was going to all four of I wanted 4 kids. I knew I wanted 4 kids. That's what's going to happen because I wanted to have a life for my kids that I didn't have because I was going to stop this cycle because it's genetic for me or genetic. Um, and so I had the ability to control my future. So I'm going to have the 4 kids. They're all going to play lacrosse. It's going to be all this stuff. Um, and for me, and here's an example of why I love the third step is that my fourth, 3 of them play and they're very competitive and it's on their terms. We don't force it on them. But my fourth, my daughter, when she wasn't even on the fence about it. She flat out was like, "I'm not playing lacrosse." And I was going to be her coach. I was like, "What? You're not playing lacrosse?" And I'm telling you, it upset me and I'm embarrassed to say that. I'm embarrassed to say that I was so selfish that um I wanted my daughter to play my sport. and I was going to be the coach, and everyone's going to look at me and say, that's so cool, and all this stuff. And isn't that wild? And I admit that. It's such a sad way to live. And I look back and I'm just like,
Yeah.
you know, I don't stare backwards, but I do look back. And so that's what we're supposed to do, right? Um, the moment that I knew that, I think you've heard this before, imagine like a hula hoop and it's around your body, and I can only control what's in that circle. Everything outside of it is out for the world. The moment I really connected with giving up the power, but giving it to God, like I felt lighter. I felt like, well, there's nothing I can do about that. There's nothing I can do about that. I don't know what you want me to do. Um, and it's freeing. And the third step in itself prevents me from drinking because I don't know how to say no to things. Like I have to be the coach. I have to do this. I have to do that. And then I started realizing I'm not happy. Like, why am I doing this? She's not happy. So the third step, and every morning I say the third step prayer, God, I offer myself to thee. Oh my gosh, wait, God, I offer myself to thee to do with me. How is it? It's basically to, God, I offer myself to thee. Hold on a second. It's a beautiful prayer. And I've even had people who don't have don't believe in God, and that's on them. They still follow this prayer. So I know it's a hard concept, but just giving it up to something other than yourself. Hold on a second.
Live his will, not yours.
Yeah, live his will, not mine. Hold on a second.
I don't
Third
know the
step
words.
prayer. Okay. So there's something, and you can say it and pray it, and maybe, you're sick of people telling you, we'll pray, we'll pray. I'm telling you, for me, it works. If I keep saying it every day, if I keep breathing it in and in out of my soul, it becomes me. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
So let me just say this really quick and you can add to it. But the prayer, and you can Google it, and you don't have, I'm not pushing religion on anyone, but I'm telling you, this works for me when I pray to it every morning and I make a conscious contact with my higher power every day, sometimes 50 times a day. Okay. And it doesn't matter if you're going through some struggle or you're just living life and everything's fine. I'm always recognizing that I don't have it. You do. So it says, God, I offer myself to thee to build with me and to do with me as you will. Relieve me from the bondage of self so I can better do your will. Take away my difficulties so that victory over those difficulties, all of those people can witness. Those I can help of thy love, thy power, and thy way of life. May I do thy will always. Okay, so that's my favorite. And that one step, yes, I have to do all of them, but that one step has really saved me. Anything to add to that?
If the freeing from yourself, the bondage of self is just gigantic, and I still get tangled in that a little bit, but this is a program that takes time and work, but I know, looking back, that who I saw, like you said, is just it's almost sickening, but I want to know that, but I also want to know where I'm at, and I'm grateful that I love that, and being just so self-absorbed, selfish, the bondage of just me, and I don't know. I couldn't do anything for anybody else, unless, like I said, I had to go through and work on myself to get there. There was something in it for me if I was going to do it.
I love that. It's exactly right. That's why I love it. Now, everyone's favorite, and I'm being very sarcastic, is the fourth step. which can be very difficult for people, but there's a reason why it's there. Let's talk about that.
At perform a searching and moral inventory of yourself. That's a lot more than what I thought it was. And like I said, it took me a few times, and I still haven't. Like you said, Darla, we're going to be doing these things again, and the further we go and we understand ourselves better, the program better, how we fit into the program better, helps us learn more about ourselves. And but that was a tricky thing, and I conveniently left a whole bunch of stuff out that I didn't want to look at. I mean, I was still um, hiding things from myself. I didn't want all that stuff. It was hard to look at. It was hard for me to admit to myself that I was just this terrible, not terrible, but just like had a lot of personal flaws and character defects and things that you know I could. It was a big chunk to look at. So uh, you know, it's in a better place now. I'll be doing more work and I'll find more stuff, and I'm grateful that I get to do that. But it's a scary thing that you really have to admit to yourself that you did some of these things where you actually hurt people that you cared about. You put alcohol in front of everything, and that's just the tip of the iceberg. I mean, it's really listed everything that you have skeleton wise in your closet, and vetting it out.
Well said. I think you said it the best, like way to, and what's important for those people out there, if you've never done it before, those feelings of like, I can't do this, like this is too much for me to take, that you're supposed to feel like that. That means you're
Yes,
doing it right.
yes.
And I'm not a teacher, I'm not your sponsor, but I do know that if you go through it and you're doing your homework and you can look it all on Google, there is there is light on the other side.
There's humility on the other side too.
And gosh, you become better. So you have to, it's going to be hard.
Yeah,
And you have to know that, because if you don't know that, then you're not going to do it. Because I wish somebody told me that way back in the day. But it's
I
worth
heard
it.
I heard in one of the rooms, if you're uncomfortable, you're probably doing it right.
I hear that over and over again. It's so true.
Right.
And okay, so that's the fourth step. And I've Googled before, like worksheets that you can do on your own. It's like journaling. So if you're not in the program, if you don't have a life coach or whatever, like I have a sponsor, so I'm very fortunate that she gives me a guide. I have learned that I'm not a good coach. I'm a good teammate. So you tell me what I'm supposed to do, I will follow it all day. I'm very coachable. But so I have the guides, but you can Google fourth step homework, all of that stuff. And there's people that'll chat. You can have like little groups if other people are willing to listen and whatever. You want to add to that?
Yeah, I think that it's a moral inventory is kind of your own thing, but there is definitely um, you know other people in the room that can help you. I mean, obviously, men with men and women with women, but talking about different things. Some people stole, some people had sex issues, some people had all the above, and it just is what it is. But um, understanding that there's somebody just like you, regardless of what that list looks like,
Yes.
it is never going to be pretty, and we're all cut from the same thread, even though we're come from different backgrounds, different religions, different things like that. Alcohol affects us exactly the same, and our behaviors end up being identical. And you're not alone.
At the core, at the core, it's all the same. And one other thing, when you were just mentioning about like the sex inventory and stealing inventory, when you say the word sex, it doesn't have to mean the actual act of sex. It could mean relationships with um men or women. It could be uh like a father or a son or a daughter, like how you know, that affects it. And then also the stealing concept, it's not like material stealing, like I stole a lipstick from the store. No, no, no. It's like stealing people's time and
Trust.
yeah, and trust. You're stealing their trust. So it's more of like on that level. So it's really worth researching what the fourth step is first before you dive into it, because that's a
And
big
this and the sex piece too, it's your behaviors because of that. Your manipulation because of X, Y, and Z with what it relates to when it comes to sex and the behaviors that are detrimental and lead to all kinds of different things. But yeah,
I love it. All right, let's move right along. Let's go to the fifth step.
admitted to God, to ourselves, and to another human being out loud in full color the exact nature of your wrongs. Um, I'll try to keep this brief. My sponsor at the time was kind of nervous about COVID, so he wanted me to go to church and find a priest. Well, I was attending a meeting at a non-denominational church, so I went there and on a Saturday and walked in and I told him why I was there. I said, "Hey, I come to your AA meeting on Monday night. I have to talk to somebody about a lot of stuff," and they knew what I was talking about. Well, I met a wonderful pastor who has actually worked with uh, alcoholics in the past. And this is just how God works in this program. When you're ready, it's there, and it's amazing because I have a wonderful relationship with a pastor, but that relationship started with me telling him over a 3 hour ordeal at Panera Bread outside, thankfully, um, the this stuff that I came up with on my list, and it was like the fourth time I'd done it, so it was pretty thorough. I didn't leave a whole lot out, you know what I mean? So that's how I met the guy, and we're still. I mean, he ended up rebaptizing me at a Bible camp, men's camp, and we stay in touch. I love it. I mean, it developed another tool for me to use, another resource, and part of my system that keeps me sober and helps me stay sober.
I love that. I never knew that. That's great.
Pastor
I love
Paul.
that story.
Shout out to
Pastor
Pastor
Paul,
Paul.
Pastor Paul, I love it. You know, it's funny when you're talking about the fifth step, and I am, I still am a parishioner of Catholic. There's two churches that I go to, but then there's also a non-denominational one, and I love that church. And what I love that I didn't expect is I know I can be open in admitting with my own Catholic church, but there was something about this church that I had no problem admitting to like everyone, yeah, I'm a recovering alcoholic, blah, blah. And I knew I was going to be okay. Like there was just this vibe and a connection that they were just like, come on in, you know?
Yeah,
And
yeah,
so that I love because I never knew that I would find that connection
yeah.
to be closer to God with a non-denominational church or AA. And yet I feel more connected than ever with those two. So constantly like surprised and grateful for the open mind that AA has given me. All right.
Exactly. The willingness it takes just to look around and what you can see and what you can find and what's there, and in you know everything is kind of like presented to you in uh in life's terms, and when God's ready, not when you decide you're ready. That's the beautiful piece too.
I love that. I need to like put that on a wall and something like that. It's great. All right. So fifth step, sixth step.
uh, we were entirely ready to have God remove these defects of character. Um, for me, this was just a step where you're kind of letting it go again. You're trying to let it go, and uh, maybe this is where a little bit of self forgiveness and self love comes in. I mean, uh, I certainly
And
didn't know
grace.
love
I feel like
myself.
grace
Grace,
and stuff.
sure, yeah, yeah. Put the Jason stick down and quit beating yourself up with it for
Yeah.
these things and let them go. And you can't change it, and don't let it affect what you're doing now. Certainly don't let it make you drink or cause you to want to drink. But and those were the things that we were scared to do before. Like you're really gonna be able to go talk about this stuff and eventually like not only dig it out from this under the surface where it's causing harm, and when it comes out it's damaging things. You're gonna be able to dig those out, vet them out, and let them go, and not let them eat at you. And again, free and lightweight.
I love that. I love that. This is why all these steps are aligned. And really quick, um, what, okay, we're at the halfway point of the 12 steps. So if you're if you're someone new to step work, can you say, you know what? And I feel like I know the answer to this, but I just want your opinion on it. Suppose I'm feeling like I'm extremely selfish today. Can I skip through certain steps and jump and do some work on a step without doing it in order?
Oh no, no, that's not. There's. I guess I've heard different things, but the success I've heard and the people that I want what they have, they say to go through 12 steps in order. They're in order for a reason, and the way that things come out of you and that you realize and earn and learn and and kind of I guess see growth in yourself a little bit at a time has to go in that order.
I love that. And I'm so glad I brought that up because
Yeah, that's a
I
great point.
just did not know in the past, especially because I didn't have a sponsor. And there's people out there who, like I said, probably aren't big drinkers. They're doing this for just life changes to become, you know, me versus me
Yeah,
or the other way around and just be a better me so that they can do it a certain kind of way.
and
I
to
love
your
that.
point, some of the ones I was scared of my first couple of times trying to get through this stuff, I it was too scary, too much, too hard. I'm going to cut a corner. Like I said, I'll
Yep.
just I'll do this one a little bit, and it just doesn't work that way at all. It just to really get yourself sober and stay sober and build yourself a foundation to try every day after that. That's yeah, I know what that feels like.
Yep. All right. So step 7.
Humbly ask him to remove the shortcomings, uh, and that's where I, you know, this isn't cutting a corner, but some of the prayers I say, but I talk to God. I have a conversation. I speak to Him. Um, you know, not as if we're friends, but I ask for things as well. For Him to geez, how grateful I am and all these things. But I have conversations with Him, and I think that's where this started to feel real comfortable. And you know, I don't I don't I don't find myself being selfish in that moment. Although I am asking for things, and the only thing I ask is I guess is that I can live His will. I want that, and you know, um, I love all. It's just a beautiful thing when I see these signs, and I can see a little bit more, I guess, experience level on how to use one of the tools that He gave me. And something that I hear from somebody, I think I know what it means, but then it really rings a bell with something else, and I learn that, and find out more about me and what makes me tick a little bit. Uh, but that's where I really have my bonding with God during this step.
I love that. I love the conversational part. And it's so funny because sometimes, and you, Jason, knows me very well, I love to talk. I've really tried to, minimize it a little bit, but that's just who I am. And sometimes my kids will catch me talking to myself, but I'm not talking to myself. I am literally talking to God. And I know you're out there because I've talked to some of you and in the past, and I want to talk about your asking for things. I've talked about this in my testimony before, where in the past I would be like, "Oh God, please, if they're called foxhole prayers. And they're very selfish prayers. For example, like if I was drinking, but I didn't want to get caught, I would always like say, "Oh God, please don't let me get caught. If you can, um, let, you know, nobody find out that I was drinking. I will do this for you. Or I promise I won't drink tonight or tomorrow. I don't do that anymore. My prayers are always like, what do you want me to do today? I have this situation, and then I go on and I just talk to him as if someone else is sitting there. And it's like, I'm like, I don't, and I talk. I have my short prayers in the morning, but then throughout the day, I'll be driving and I'm like, God, and I mean, you probably would think I'm the craziest person in the world, but that's what I do. And I'm not even afraid to admit it. Like, I love it. There's some kind of peace that comes. It's funny too. And I want to mention this. The second I let out and I say, what am I supposed to do? I'm automatically giving up that power. He doesn't say, oh, well, then you need to do this and this and this. The prayer is still answered by me giving it to him. Because eventually, the more I give up and the more I say it, the more the answers are there, just probably not in the material way that I would have expected it in the past. Like, God, I really need to make my rent this month. I'm just making this up. What, like, can you just magically give me $10,000? No, 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 it doesn't work like that. Maybe it does, but that's not what I'm asking for anymore. I want guidance on, like, something. How do I have peace of mind and know that it'll all play out? But also, what do you think I should do to get to that? And I'm here today. I'm
Right.
still here, still in my home. I didn't need $10,000 for rent, thank God. But these are, you get laid off from a job. And that happened to me last summer. And I'm here and I'm doing better. And I would have
Yes.
never thought of that. So that's like my extension on that step. But just wanted to put that out there. You just got to be open-minded. What are we on, step 8?
Yes. And make a list of persons you'd harmed and be willing to to make amends to them all. Uh, so this one this one's kind of tricky because a lot of times you might run into a situation where it could be harmful to yourself or to someone else if you were to reach out because of what the past looked like. um, and you know this this step really isn't for you to be prepared for a somebody to forgive you or give you their trust back, because that's not on you. That's kind of what their decision is. I have a close friend of mine that I hurt deeply, and even today we're friends, but I'll never get back in and earn what I think is the trust that I had with him before, and I have to be willing to accept that, and that's a difficult thing too. But the other thing is the motive behind why you want to reach out and make an amends to somebody. Um, you know, it really is sort of a selfish program in a way. I hate to say that, but this step is for me. Like, it's for me to explain my like how I hurt you, and I understand. I believe I hurt you, and to listen. Um, Whether or not they choose to talk to you, whether or not the conversation goes as you think it may. And that's why this step is so far down, because a lot of preparation needs to be made for, again, an outcome you cannot control. And you've got to be willing to walk into that and try to kind of, what we say is, clean your side of the street up. Um, you know, there's a thing: trust is lost in buckets and gained in droplets. You might not ever get someone's trust back, but again, that's for them to choose. But if you do your part, and again, this is about letting some of that stuff go. If you do your part to genuinely try to make an amends and not 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 have to go live through it again, but just say, I'm working on myself. I've got a better understanding, or just like I said, listen of how this hurt, and that, and I've done this step twice with my ex-wife, and the second time definitely more powerful. And um, you know, I got to listen, and I caused a lot of pain, and those are really, really hard things to admit, especially where I look back and we were, arguing with each other while we were married and things. But that growth and all of that, I've been able to develop a great relationship with her where we're excellent parents. She's a great mom, and I think we've, as far as getting along, it's a better situation. And I've got more work to do. I'm still, like I said, puppy, and I'm grateful to do it. But yeah, this one's definitely one that you can't do overnight, and I'm grateful that I've had to do it gotten to do it a couple of times, and I imagine there's a couple more that um, you know, one is my father, one is my dad. Uh, I called him a coward and a kind of selfish individual for doing what he did by taking his own life. And I've since learned how wrong I really was because I didn't know anything about suicide or that level of depression. But I've been able to talk to people, work with people, and understand and read about what that really entails, and that's the opposite of what that really is. There's no cowardice in taking your own life, and to that level, nothing I understand personally, but it's just I had the wrong idea, and by understanding that correctly, I was able to forgive my father when I held a lot of resentment towards him previous to that because my hero, he killed himself. How could he do that? And I talked to my dad too nowadays, and I'm grateful for that too. It's a big part of
I'm
me.
sorry, you said you talked to your dad. What?
Yeah, I talked to my dad, and it's a big part of me being able to let that go as well.
Okay, so I'm going to admit this right now. I'm not there yet. I haven't gotten to the eighth step. That's actually, I think, in like 2 weeks. I'm having a pre-discussion with my sponsor. Um, and I haven't, we have to do them. We can't do all of our amends. That's why you keep doing them over. So it's like my amends with what I'm going through with currently. But I'm really grateful for you kind of expanding on that because I needed to learn from other people, their experiences. And it's also really helpful to know that no matter what the result is, whether you're forgiven by that other person or not, this is a good selfish
Yes, yes,
portion because it's like I'm acknowledging it's not just words, it's not saying I'm sorry because they've already heard that over and over again. It's a process of uh, letting them know I played a role, a big one,
accountability.
accountability, and they know that you know. And it's not just empty words and that look, I'm here to listen. That listening part is huge. So thank you for that. I might have to
Yeah,
touch.
that's more than me talking. This because the second time I really listened. I think it's because with my ex-wife, she was willing to share with me at that point, and that's the piece that I needed to hear. I needed to understand what damage I caused and really feel that and understand it, go through that, and be accountable for it. And you can't change it, but I mean, I did those things. I know that I have to accept those, and that's a bigger piece. If I didn't know that, I feel like I kind of get to go through that and hear that. I'm grateful for her to be able to open up to me and talk to me about what hurt her because that's not an easy conversation to have on her end either.
That's wonderful. I love that. All right. Step 9, what do you got for me?
Make direct amends to such people, and there's a couple things to that. That's the piece where I said you make amends to people that you know you don't want to cause harm to anybody. And again, checking your motives for doing so. Um, it's got to be it's something definitely. I mean, this is a program where in these steps, um, you know, like a pastor in church going through the Bible, we need a sponsor. You got to have a sponsor in this program. It's really super important to guide you through this book. And you know, there's so many tools and so many things out there, and there's men's groups that spin off breakfast clubs, things like that. But we all need help going through this and understanding it. If I could imagine going through the big book, and I've heard people try just to go through the book themselves. It's just it's not a plan for a high level of success. I'll say that.
I love that. I love that. And so, yeah, so step 9 is actually taking step 8, putting it into fruition,
To
uh,
action. Yep.
to action. So I love that. And I needed to hear all of this. And this is, again, this is two people having a meeting. That's all it takes. So I feel like, I mean, I'm walking away not saying, oh man, I wish I didn't do that like I would if I drank last night. Nobody ever says, well, I'm really glad I got drunk last night, you know? Um, not in my bubble.
No, I
So,
tell you, the one of the I admire people that have a lot of sobriety and they go out and they find their way back in. I mean, I had only a little bit of sobriety now when I came crawling back in, but years and years and years and years and coming back and facing that's that's admirable. And they come back to the right place, and how lucky and all that. And of course they're welcome with just open arms from everybody. They're just lovely to see them, and hopefully want the best for them. We all help each other stay sober, darling. I've told you this before. You help me
oh
stay
my
sober
gosh.
constantly.
Like all the time, just constant reminders, and I love it. And it's funny because I've done this so many times. There's a saying, I have enough 24-hour chips to fill a fishbowl. Um, and so it became like easy if you relapse after a few weeks, but to have all these years and for us to witness firsthand when that happens to someone else and then they come back. Look, nobody wants a relapse, but to know that we've seen those relapse and they were able to come back into a room of smiling people with big ass hugs. And this is the safe place because we know you can do it again. And all those years of experience are not gone. Those are those are tools that brought you that you use moving forward. You know you can get there because you did it this whole time. So I'm always observing. I'm always watching. That's like my favorite thing to do. That's why I love the connections in the community. I'd be lost without the rooms, to be honest.
Yeah, the direct line to humility is through humiliation. And if you go back into a room and tell them that uh, I came to these meetings drunk, and then they look at you like, yeah,
Uh-huh.
we know, but thank you for they're you're admitting it to them, and that's a huge piece, and that's I had to do that, and that's not. But I tell you what, it was hugely humbling, and I get to use it as a tool today, but um, it's something I don't want to do again. But if I have to go that route, God forbid, I hope I can find and God can drag me back in, and I know I'll get the same warm welcome, but I'm afraid if I start drinking again, I'm not going to make it back into the rooms, and that's a real thing.
Yep, 100%. We need that reminder. We
Yes,
need that humility reminder through humiliation. I love that. All right. So, step 10?
yes.
Step 10.
So we
Home stretch.
continued to take personal inventory, and when we were wrong, we properly admitted it. And that happens all the time on different scales. When you realize that not only maybe a behavior is that you're familiar with, like worrying about certain things, but anyway, certain things that you've worked on and you felt the work go through, and then it creeps up and you catch yourself. You're like, geez. Um, I mean, I just had this happen where I overreacted and let someone get to my feelings, and I ended up at a shouting match and things. And I talked to my sponsor about it. But again, without these steps and without those tools and the awareness and willingness to try to get these things better, I'm just on cruise control and I'm coasting, and I could be drinking again, and I it's not acceptable to me.
I love that. All right. Sponsorship is huge.
My
Step 11.
sponsor is awesome.
Yeah.
I'm just grateful.
I met him.
You
Jason
did.
just he celebrated 3 years. Was it three
Yep.
years?
Yep.
and I was so fortunate to be able to go and watch. I mean, this was a big group at 6 o'clock in the morning in Frederick. Oh my gosh, I was so inspired. But I met his sponsor, really wonderful guy. We need more, but like just the fellowship and just like more conversations. I thrive when I just have these conversations. It's an hour where I'm not going to drink at least. So, like, or for us, it's an hour and a half. And it just gets me off on the right foot again with that guidance. His sponsor may not be my sponsor, but I'm always learning from other sponsors' wisdom, and the sponsors are too. We're doing for them too. They're sponsoring because it helps them stay on a program and it gets themselves out of their own head, right? That's why I teach yoga. Everyone needs yoga, but it's allowing me to give the gift that is kind of aligned with 12 steps that I have to give it to the next guy, which we'll talk about in a little bit, which is the 12th step. But right
It's
now,
nail to nail that home, Darla. One of my sponsors, who I asked to if he would be my sponsor, he asked me a couple of questions, and he said at the end, before he said a final yes, he said, "I'll be your sponsor, but I want to make it perfectly clear. I'll do that because I want to keep myself sober, just like that."
that's 100%. That's what my sponsor says. You know,
Awesome.
when I first went into this program, I always felt like some of these people that were like, there was this one girl, I loved her. She would like make me bracelets and she'd be like, "Oh, I thought you would really like this," or "I'm going to come to your yoga class." And I'm like, "You really don't have to do that, or you don't have to make me these bracelets." She's like, "No, no, no. You're helping me more. When I make these bracelets, it it's it's making me like it's therapeutic and I'm thinking of somebody else other than me. When I'm taking your yoga class, I'm thinking of I'm helping somebody by them helping teach me. So it's like, help me
Oh
help
yeah,
you, you
yeah,
know? And it's
yeah.
beautiful and I love it. All right, step 11.
Sought through prayer and meditation to improve our conscious contact with God. 100% honesty. My meditation piece could use some work. Um, I haven't dove too deep in it and gotten too consistent with it. But prayer, um, absolutely. And you know, all outside of talking, I do pray to God, and it's just it, you know, I'm kind of stuttering because I know that I have to get my I really should be meditating more. I hear that a lot, and I'm not going to beat myself up too much, but I know it's something I need to work on. But my conscious contact with God, I'm always checking on and making sure that we're real, we're good, we're tight, we're where we need to be because I know God's got my hand, and I need to make sure that it's like we gotta keep it going, and he lets me know when I'm ready for a tool or ready to see something else, and I let him know kind of where I'm at and what questions I have, and what I really want to do, which is live His will and be grateful for my sobriety another day if it's in His plan.
Love that. I love that so much. Yeah. So you have your conversations and your prayer. Two different things, but we're still keeping that conscious contact. And there's never, never a time where I ever say, I've talked to God a little too much today. He's tired. No, that's why he's God.
Yeah, I know. It's like I'm like
Capable of my baggage.
sometimes I'm driving, I'm like, I gotta say something to God. I'll turn the radio off, and I'm like, yeah, one more thing, blah blah blah. just thought I'd throw that in there or whatever, and just like you said, it's never too late.
That's right. And our final step, the 12th step. What do you got for
Uh,
me?
so, having had a spiritual awakening as a result of these steps, we carry the message to another alcoholic, and that's the whole piece of really freely giving back what was given to us, and there is power in that. Again, you're not thinking of yourself. I know several things and people, and I can remember their faces, just things that they said along the way, and how happy they were to see me, and exactly, they all wanted exactly the same thing in return, absolutely nothing. And you know, that's how this program works. It's just we get to help other people, and it's understanding that we've been there, and you know, it's not a realm of possibility we could be there again. So, but without a room full of drunks and God, no way I'm sober today.
Well, I am just so grateful to you, Jason. And I'm a little sad because we're always like together when we're having these
I
conversations.
know.
So, and I was a little worried that we wouldn't have that connection, but I feel it. I mean,
Yeah. Oh yeah.
but not. You
Yeah. I
can't.
know.
We will. And Jason, just so you all know, I think I mentioned to this to him, but he's going to be a frequent flyer on this Darla and Friends podcast because he really does embrace and epitomize the 12 steps that lead to an authentic me versus me, or like you versus you. And we talk a lot about things that we didn't realize throughout life, like our jobs. We were just talking the other day about how sometimes we have these feelings of like, I got this promotion, but I don't feel like I should have it. And we still can't figure out why we don't think we deserve it. And that's the alcoholic brain. So these are things that, even though you might not be an alcoholic, you still have these thoughts every day.
Yep.
And we need to be open and have these open conversations about it because Jason and I could go on for hours and people could really be like, you know what? I'm the same way. And you might not even know it. So this is real interactive, and Jason's going to be on the Darla and Friends panel.
It's not one of those conversations. Well, what you need to do is it's really
Right.
true understanding, and we can see ourselves and each other doing the same thing that we're talking about, and we know it. So a lot of it feels like we're like, yeah, or you can relate it to something, and give support and um, it, just help us try to understand maybe what we're not seeing. I mean, it's always funny when we end up getting ourselves to ask ourselves the question, you know, hey, what is it going to take? What do I need to do? You know what I mean? And then you got your own answer. You answer your own question. It's beautiful.
Well, Jason, I am so grateful for you. Can't wait to bring you back on the panel. And I think this is definitely a good two-parter because we got to hear your story and then we got to break down the 12 steps and what a wonderful way for people to familiarize themselves. And we'll keep going and there's going to be ways for people to contact us and I'll post that. And I will see you again soon. Until next time, and I'll reach out and just wanted to say thank you to everyone who has been watching and we're really grateful to be on this journey of just a better life with you all. Thank you so much, Jason.
Thank you so much, Darla. Grateful.